Alright guys, back at it again right here at Brooks Landscape. I want to show you this design that I've came up with in order to deal with the water that's coming from behind this house. That's right, the water's from the neighbor's yard as well as off these gutter downspouts that they haven't taken in yet. We're going to be putting in my famous decorative river rock that's going to allow for us to be able to deal with this area. But one of the ways that we do that is by coming up with a design that allows us to be able to come up with an outline. And so I'm going to take you through this process so that you can see for yourself. We take our larger rock, we use them on the outside for the design, and then we use a lot of our bigger rock. As you can see, I have this area spray painted out, so it's going to help you better identify how this design is going to be created. But ultimately, I'm just taking my bigger rock and I'm using it as a border piece. I do get pretty specific when I'm picking these pieces out, but for demonstration purposes, not really gonna show much. But I wanna show you what this does. This gives you a landscape design that is absolutely gonna blow your customer's mind, because it's not only gonna solve their landscape drainage problem, but it's also gonna put the landscape in the best position going forward. Now, as you can see with all these little rocks, we put those on the inside, so I'm simply gonna take those rocks and throw them in the inside of this outline that I'm creating. Now, in addition to this, you're also going to see that I have an erosion control fabric down. This is a decorative gravel that allows you to be able to take all the water that's coming in on this landscape and make sure that it no longer has the ability to get down into the bare dirt. So it's absolutely necessary that when you're installing a dry creek bed thought process, that you do have your erosion control fabric down, so therefore you can ensure that that water never gets back into the ground. Now, as I go through this entire process, I'm going to be laying these decorative river rock out so that we ensure we are able to create a magnificent landscape transformation. Now, in addition to that, you can see one of the things that I like to do when putting these together is create a walkway, and I've also done that as well. Here's the walkway that we're creating. It's just going to be a little bit more of a way for us to be able to distinguish a walking path and/or area for the customer. Don't really like this big boulder here, so I'm going to move it out the way, and we're gonna find a better one. But I'll show you how we're gonna make this walking path look very unique. So as you can see, I started out with nothing. Come down in here, took that first boulder. Don't wanna use either one of these just because of the jagged edge. It doesn't have any jagged edges. I kinda like this one sitting here. So let's see what other ones we can find in order to make that border. Now also, because it is gonna be kinda like a walkway, I do wanna find as many flat pieces as possible. And when I say flat pieces, I mean those pieces that almost look like a pancake. So you'll find that there's pieces that look like pancakes. Just gonna throw those over there towards the landscape where you're gonna be creating a walkway. Looks like a pancake, throw it over that way. Now I'm looking for some that would not look like a pancake, but rather has this jagged edge to it. And that's gonna allow for me to be able to create my design when I wanna say that this area is gonna be designated for a walkway. And you see how big that one is, you see how big this one is, and this one, I typically put those on the back side of a fence. So that's where these are going to be going. These are going to go to the back side of this fence. And the way you do that, simply move a lot of your small rock out the way. And as you can see, it's going to take up a lot of space, but it's really an unnecessary space. So we always try to put these big pieces in the back. And one of the best things about working with this aggregate, guys, is when you start working with the 4 to 8 inch, this is about 8 inches, 8 to 7 inches, and they have some that go all the way up to 10 inches, you're able to suck up a tremendous amount of water. So all that water that's moving down on this landscape, coming from the gutter downspouts, the neighbor's yard, moving through this fence, is now going to have to go through this aggregate, which is an 8-inch sediment. So therefore, that water is going to suck up, that water is going to be sucked up very fast. And then it's also going to have to travel through this erosion control fabric. And so as it moves and meanders around, it's also going to be sucked up by the decorative gravel that we put out here. And these are just some of the ways in which we continue to solve our customers' landscape drainage problems on a consistent basis. Now, as we get back to where we were, we are creating a walkway right here. More of a walkway design. I always like to have one piece that's kind of straight. I like to have a little texture, but I do like to have it straight. And this is going to differentiate our mulch. As you see, we're getting in our mulch down here. It's going to differentiate those two within this design. So let me find about 2 more rocks. And you can see as we go down this line here, everything that you see on the outside is going to be the bigger rocks. And then what you see on the inside are going to be the smaller rocks. then I like to just move it around till I kind of find a good spot. You see how that almost joins together? It's amazing how rocks work, guys, I'm telling you. Now I'm also just kind of put my smaller rocks in here. Now I got a small rock here. Anything big goes on the outside or the inside. And it just says when you get up against the fence, you want to try to have some bigger pieces, as that's going to be mostly where all of your water is coming in. Your river rock is going to be even more effective. Now you can see I put that on just about every end here, and it's made it to where now we can come over here, guys, and start building out this area that we don't want to be too high, because at the end of the day, someone's going to walk on this. And the reason why they're going to be able to walk on it is because we chose the specific type of dry creek river rock so that it did not disturb their walking. And as you can see, I put that one that's a little bit bigger toward the end. The ones that are smaller and flatter, I'm putting those where one would normally walk. You're just gonna see this come together. I'm actually gonna stick that one over here. Let that one come down. Here's one right here. Bring that one over here. Doesn't look like it fit. We'll go ahead and give it an out right in here somewhere. All right, so you can see I pretty much have made a nice walking path area that doesn't require one to have to worry about falling as they move. And I'm gonna go ahead and put that last piece in. Remember, we were trying to find that piece. I think these two are gonna do it. But as you can see, this area up against this landscape where so much water comes in, guys. I mean, we're talking about a tremendous amount of water that comes in off of these gutter downspouts, and also comes off this hillside from the neighbor's yard that was impacting this area, that made it necessary that we put this erosion control fabric down along with this design that I've created. Now, as you can see, we're getting down to the last part of this design where we kind of take some of the rock that we got, and in order to make this rock stick, sometimes, guys, you just have to make sure you got a rock below it. And so here's our design. I want to keep a little bit of a smaller rock here. I actually want to find a better one than that one, but I do want to have a smaller rock there so that I'll be able to ensure that the water's able to go over this rock if it ever did flood, which I doubt. But as you can see, that went in perfectly. So that's the number one goal when you're putting this together, is that you want to try to make sure everything goes smoothly. I'm absolutely trying to make sure this area that's black right here gets only flat rocks, guys. Only flat rocks, because you can't walk on rocks that are not flat. So you can see here, some of this is requiring a little bit of change, but it's definitely not much. And I believe the rocks kind of fall in place themselves. And so once you start putting in the dry creek bed, you'll notice that a lot of this rock will fall in itself. All right. So now that most of this landscape has built itself out, what we're going to do is take in that rock and complete the last project.